Well, hello again, all the people out there watching. We are back on Torn. We got some stuff to talk about this week. That is my hopes and plans to talk about stuff. But it's three of us. Well, three of us. It's four of us tonight. I'm kind of not counting myself because I'm the moderator. But apparently I can't count either. And so we will get started. I will have everyone introduce themselves, starting with the person to my, to my right, Joe.
Oh, great.
I know y'all was like, who's to your right? Okay, yeah, I thought about that too.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how this works. So I'm Joe. What do you want to know? I'm a music director.
Yeah, that's all I want you to do right now. Yeah, that's
Great.
all I want you to do. Now, the other two, I want you to, you might want to get a pen. I didn't tell you how to get a pen and a piece of paper beforehand. If you can't remember this, the questions are, I want you to introduce yourself. I want you to say where you're from and what you do in theater and what is your nationality. Okay, Maya, you can go first.
Awesome. So my name is Maya Bryant. I am the new communications manager at North Carolina Theater. I am also Miss Dunn and will compete for Miss North Carolina this June. And every woman who competes in this sort of system has to have a social impact initiative, and mine is entitled Arts at the Core. So a lot of my arts advocacy for the past 10 years has been involved in this pageant work. I was born and raised and currently live in Durham, North Carolina. And my nationality is, I thought that I was an American, but I do my research. I am a United Statesian because I live in the, I stay ready so I don't have to get ready. We can talk about that later, but I have my sticky note before you. I'm ready. So there we are.
I'm waiting a minute to make sure I got my pen pointed at the right place. Oh, Cal, please, the same questions, please.
I feel very underprepared next to Maya. Yes, Maya, homework.
Right.
Get it.
Okay.
My name is Townwin. I am an actor. I am a voice coach. I am a music director. What else? I can be anything you want to be as long as you're paying me. Pay my bills. I was born in Vietnam. My family and I immigrated over to Hartford, Connecticut when I was 2. And I studied at the School of the Arts in Winston-Salem, and I am currently residing in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Okay. So what is your nationality?
Oh, yeah, I'm Vietnamese.
Vietnammise. Thank you.
I was going to do 23andMe and find out if I'm like really 100% Vietnamese, but I don't want to pay $125 just for them to be like, you're Vietnamese, because literally.
Right. Or even worse, you find out they're a fraud and you wasted your $125 because they tell you you're Anglo-Saxon.
I know. I gave you my DNA and you're going to keep my $125.
Right. They threw that DNA in the trash can and went to the bar with their $125. Well, since Maya gave it away, I'll tell it anyway. I always ask everyone.
Yeah, please tell it.
These questions. Yeah, please tell it. I ask everyone these questions, and I ask about nationality because normally people give their heritage along with their nationality if they're from this country. So normally they say African American, or they say Vietnamese American, Chinese American, whatever. They put that in, but that's not your nationality. Supposedly our nationality is American, but that is wrong. That is not wrong. It's programmed in us because Canada is a part of America. Mexico is a part of America, North America. So when you say you're American, so when you get these people in this country telling the Mexicans, get out of America and go back to your country, they were here before you. They're from this country. Well, this continent, because America is not a country, it's a continent. And so technically we're United Statesians. I'm looking at you, Maya. But we don't have anything called United Statesians, and we don't call ourselves that. And it's not just us. People overseas, when they think of Americans, they think of people from the United States. So tonight we are going to as much as possible deprogram ourselves. And it is not a coincidence that Tao and Joe, I have you guys up here because of what's been going on. And we're going to talk about that. And I want to talk about that. We're not going to run from that. So, and then, of course, Maya, you and I, we deal with it every day, all day. I really don't. I'm sorry, we do. So, and this is for the ones anybody that's watching. This is not a finger pointing session. This is reality of what we feel and what we endure, and how we want things to be and how we want things to change. So I'm just going to get I'm going back just a little bit. Joe, I will start with you. What were your thoughts about what happened on January 6th?
January 6th.
I went back.
Yeah. Okay. A bunch of different thoughts. I mean, on a very personal, very selfish level, I had just gone through a pretty rigorous interview. So it was like, and I watched it unfold live. Andrea was watching like news, and I went down a YouTube rabbit hole and found a GoPro from one of the terrorists themselves. So I was watching behind the scenes, which like was not the mentally healthiest thing for me to do, but I was like, I want to know who they are and what they're saying. So it was like I was already fried just on a personal level. And it was just like, this is what you see in Myanmar. This is not what you expect to see here. But I was also like, we know who's responsible. We know how we got here. That's not a mystery. It's not like this came out of the blue. Like I feel like we were all expecting something. And hoping that we wouldn't have to see something, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, I mean, I was I was disappointed. I was glad that my parents were out of the country. I have this conversation regularly, which is I do not feel safe or comfortable here. But that's nothing new. And then like so many others, you just sit around and go, well, what are we going to do about that? But January 6th seemed to, it's like, it's everything you think, unfolding on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tao, same question.
I was repainting my studio when January 6th happened, the insurgents, and insurrection, and I was living in a world of like, should I give it my full attention or will it hurt too much? I'm constantly living in a world of like, especially during our last president's what I want to say reign, but it's not reign, but like the past 4 years.
Yes, it is.
The last 4 years, if you invest too much in it, it's so painful that you have to become numb to it. But I mean, when your the capital of the nation you're currently in is being attacked, you have to pay somewhat attention. So I was constantly checking Facebook, and I was checking CNN and all the news stations, and just watching live feeds and just watching windows being broken, walls being scaled. Like everybody was Spider-Man. Like, let me tell you, everyone was a Marvel superhero when we did not ask for this reboot.
Not the reboot we wanted.
No, we did not want this. Marvel did not pay for this. Disney did not say yes. So I kept on painting my studio, and I kept on praying, and because like, what else am I supposed to do in Winston-Salem? I kept on trying to keep my news feed as up to date as possible with facts. I would reshare facts that I've made sure was correct, because sometimes we'd be sharing things that are not correct. So it's very important. So and then as the days progressed, I slowly started to sit down with myself and realize what just happened to our nation, and what just happened to the people. What was very sad during my realization is that there were Vietnamese Americans within those people who stormed the Capitol. And it was sad to see people like me participating in that event.
Okay. Thank you. Maya, obviously, same question. January 6th, where were you?
So I was at home, and I'm pretty sure, so COVID struck my family. Some reason I had superpowers before I have gotten the shot, but everyone but me in my house was ill. And at this point, everyone was better, but I still had to be quarantined. So we were all at home. And I really remember that morning of Facebook status, and the status said, I was rooting for Georgia. Thank you, Georgia. We owe your Abram breaking it.
Maya is breaking up right now. Maya, you are, it might be your Wi-Fi. You are breaking up real bad. Do you have any other programs open on your computer? Because you're frozen right now.
Was everything.
Oh, you are frozen. Okay, we're going to get back to Maya with that.
Can you hear me now? No.
I still want to. I can. Yes.
Okay, I closed everything else. Hopefully. Okay. So
good.
Sorry, I don't know. My computer was like, no thanks, you can't talk.
Right. Like, yeah, no, you're not doing it. Okay.
So I remember that morning, we were celebrating victories in Georgia. We were, celebrating this democracy, and I had so much hope in my heart. And I remember posting that on Facebook saying, this is why we vote. This is why we've been so eager the past, couple of months. And I was like, we are finally on this road to hopefulness. And then I turned the news off, because what did I need to watch the news for anymore? And I laid down and took a nap, and I received a text from one of my good friends. And that was actually a voice memo, and she was driving down the street. And I didn't really understand what she was saying. She was like, how are people able to go into the Capitol like this? Where's National Guard? And I was like, what is she? I have no idea what she's talking about. And then right after that, I heard my mother in her room go, oh my gosh. So I was like, what is actually happening? And so, I ran in her room, and I could not believe what my eyes were seeing. And very quickly, that hope went away. It's just sad. And even still, I get chills thinking about that very moment, where we can be so far and be on this road to where I think is better and brighter. And so quickly, that feeling can go away.
Okay. I jotted down a few things that I heard from you guys that just stuck out. And Joe, and I'm going to ask both of you kind of the same question. Maya said she turned the news off, but you said you wanted to know. Why did you want to know?
I think for me, it's the same reason that I used to get log on to Storm. Well, not log on to. I didn't have an account, but look at Stormfront to see what people are saying. Because I mean, it's multiple. I like to know who you are. To be totally honest, I like to know if it's someone I might know or whatever. And also, again, for points of view, I like to know what their points were, what they were trying to say. Besides, hang Mike Pence, they're screaming things about the COVID vaccine. They're screaming things, you know, because I think people like to. All right, people like to say, or at least they used to, right, for a long time, like, oh, well, we don't need to get political. This isn't about politics. But I'm like, but when there is a collection of viewpoints that all go together and are under a political party, then yes, it is political.
Mm.
You know, when you can sort of predict that the people who are anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers and anti-Black Lives Matter into this sort of the same political group, then like, isn't it political? You know, so I wanted to know both who they were and what they were actually saying, because like you can make assumptions about, well, I'm sure that this is the platform that they're standing on, but it's another thing to hear it from their mouth themselves.
The horse's mouth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I tell you, I given my opinion on something you said, I totally agree with you. I just put it out there. I need to know my enemy. And whether they're my enemy just because I've actually done something to them, or they're my enemy just because they hate my skin color, they're still my enemy. I'm not their enemy, but they're my enemy because they can't see past my skin color. I can't change my skin color. So they would want to do me harm. So they're my enemy. And I want to know who they are. Now, with that being said, and I understand both sides. Maya, you said you just turned it off. Why did you did you turn it off?
Yeah, and we watched it for a while, but it was heartbreaking to see. And I think I started being, and this is very sad, and I had to check myself this past summer, where I saw in particular after the Breonna Taylor verdict, a friend of mine was on the phone sobbing, and I looked at her and I said, I mean, it is what it is. What did we expect? And I had to catch myself because I'm now being desensitized to things that are not normal and should not be normal. And so it, watching these clips and, videos of people inside the Capitol, they had cameras on themselves and showing us around what they were doing. My heart couldn't take it anymore. And I will say on the flip side of that, my hope was restored when just 1 week later, we saw that you can't delay democracy. That no, you can try all you want, and that all the work that we've been doing and that will continue to be done, it's not in vain. But in that moment, I felt very hopeless.
Okay, thank you. Tao, you said you saw other Vietnamese, other. I'm looking at you, Maya. Other United Statesians of Vietnamese descent. Do you know any personally that are pro-Trump people?
I do not know anyone personally who have verbally expressed to me that they are pro-Trump, but I understand, or I'm starting to wrap my head around why they were a part of the insurrection.
Why is that?
Because Vietnam has a very troubled relationship with China because of years of war, right, and invasion. So by the end of the last Vietnamese War, the refugees who came over here were all trying to escape the Chinese regime. And Trump toted a message of like, I will beat China down. So obviously the refugees are like, oh, he's our new person. So I could see why so many Vietnamese people gravitated towards Trump, trusted him, so that in his work, and he made them believe that he was powerful against China when we all know that was all a lie. So many things that come out of his mouth are lies. So yeah, I understand. I don't agree with it, but I understand why I saw Vietnamese flags, why I saw Vietnamese people, why there are pro-Trump Vietnamese people, because he fooled them. He fooled us.
Okay, thank you. Maya, what do you call the people that were out there on January 6th that were trying to break in the Capitol? What would you call them?
I know I wouldn't call them American or patriots. I I don't know how you can storm a sacred building in our country and be a patriot. I've never been asked that. I don't know what I would call them,
Okay.
but definitely not a patriot.
Okay, thank you. Tao, what would you call them?
Insurrectionists. I would agree with Maya. They don't believe for the greater good of the country. They are terrorists in my eyes. I am not a U.S. citizen. I am a permanent resident. So I really have no foot in saying this is my country, but I did grow up here. And that is not a society I dreamt about growing up in, you understand? Like they're not the type of people I thought, oh, one day I'll be a citizen and I'll be like one of them. That's
Right.
not what I want.
Right.
I'm not going to spend $1,000 to become a citizen to storm the Capitol.
Right. Thank you. Okay. And
We
I asked
appreciate
this question. Right, exactly. Thank you so much. I asked the question because Joe, without even thinking twice, when she started describing them, she said terrorists.
Mhm.
And I haven't heard them referred as that on TV. It's insurrectionists. This was an insurrection. No, this was domestic terrorism.
Yeah.
But they stopped short of calling them terrorists, and Joe just ran it off. And I totally agree with her. But it hasn't been labeled like that on media because when you see that skin tone, you don't call them anything but you give them a name that doesn't look too bad.
Right. Or you say they're having a bad day.
Right.
So since you jumped us there, let's go there.
Sorry, I mean.
Okay. No, I'm fine with it. I'm glad because that's where I was going next.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys ever seen the video. There was a video where a group of Black people were out in the streets and they were tearing up cars and everything, and they called them rioters, and the news, they were calling them rioters and everything bad. And then they showed a video with white people doing it after they won a championship where they were tearing up cars and setting fires, and it was an unruly crowd and a bunch of hyper teenagers. So someone took the sound from the one with the Black people and put it on the one with the white people, and it fit perfectly. So, but that's part of the programming that we have, and we don't realize that that's a part of the programming. Last week? Well, I can't even remember the day now. But Atlanta, Georgia. Let's go backwards this time. Maya, your thoughts on what happened in Georgia?
I think, plainly put, people of color's lives shouldn't depend on if a white man is having a good day or not. I don't understand how that it doesn't make sense in my brain. I think it's just, again, sad where I turn on the news and here we are again.
Okay. Tao, the same question.
It really struck home. My mother owns a nail salon. She works in a salon, so it was very heart-wrenching and painful to know that happened at a salon. She doesn't own a massage salon, but same industry. So it was very painful, and I agree with Maya. Like, just because a white man who could easily get a gun was troubled by his own demons and decided to take justice into his own hands. It's hard to process, and it's not right. And the fact that we can't remember which day it was. We can't remember.
Right.
Oh, was it the mass murder last week or 2 weeks ago?
Right.
Is starting to become very troublesome. One thing I will have to say that a good thing that we got out of the pandemic and the lockdown is that we didn't see any mass shootings. Mass shootings kind of sort of stalled. Before that, every week schools and kids were being affected. They were having to do shooting drills, but a blessing in my brain was that we didn't have to experience anything like that until things started opening up again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And I hadn't even thought of that. That, okay, you're right. They started back up when we eased up on the restrictions. And it's sad that I don't remember the exact day, because a few days later you got 10 people killed,
right,
in a Walmart. So, but nevertheless, same for you, Joanna. Same question. Your thoughts, your honest thoughts on it. Go ahead.
I think the very first reaction, because I've been in conversation with my parents about them coming back to the States. So my very first reaction was to get on Line, which is the app I use to message my parents and say, "Don't come back, cancel the flight." Which, and I mean, I think I don't know if you've heard this story or not, but like exactly a year ago, I was the one who told my parents, "Oh, come back to the States because I think America can handle COVID better than Taiwan can." And so then they did. And then obviously it went to hell here, and Taiwan's been great. And so then they went back, and now my parents are like, "We're not listening to anything you say about."
Oh,
all right, that's fair. So the first reaction was, just how to protect my parents.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's been, like being, anger towards that sheriff and that Cherokee County's office, and that Captain J, I can't remember his last name, Baker?
Yeah, I think so. He ain't important. Go ahead.
And then, and anger, and not disbelief, but anger that somehow this assertion that they're all sex workers somehow makes it okay or justifies it at all. Anger that, him saying that it's not race motivated is accepted at face value. But frustration with frustration for, I feel like, decades of conflict within the Asian community that has kept us from being able to politically mobilize. And what I'm talking about is like, exactly what Tao was saying. Vietnamese people and Chinese people, like Vietnam and China were at war for 1,000 years.
Right.
That translates over to America, where you have Asian communities that hate other Asians, and what that means is that you cannot pull it together to gain any political clout. Also, anger at a lot of Asians that I don't know personally, but know that they exist, who are racist towards Black people, which thereby cuts us off at the knees for any successful attempt for people of color to gain, political power in this country. So it's like, I'm mad all around. I'm mad at everybody all around. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of layers. I think the first couple of days it was just like me fighting with my parents of please don't come back, and then, but you know, I've given up. They won't listen to me. It's fine. Now is this added layer of like, you know, we are this position that we're in is not our fault in terms of like, obviously it's not our fault that we're targets, but this position that we are in terms of political mobilization is our fault for Asians not being able to get along with Asians and for Asians not being able to get along with the Black community.
Well,
And that's
I appreciate
frustrating.
that. Yeah, I totally appreciate that. Yeah, that's deep. To put the blame where the blame really goes. You know, on either side, on anybody's side, because there's some things that Black people do. I'm like, no, that's your fault. You did that to yourself. You allowed that to happen. So no, but so Joe, let me ask you. And this goes for the Asian, mostly Asian shooting and the white shooting at Walmart. Ted Cruz is saying, and Ted's from Texas, and so are you. I know that. Sorry, y'all. I already know that. So that's why I picked on her on this one. She's probably the only one that's going to get this question. So Ted Cruz says that every time something like this happens, we start singing the same swan song about gun control. But guns need to be sold to people who can register for them and law-abiding, upholding citizens. What would you say to Ted Cruz?
I mean, I don't want to hear a word about law abiding from Ted Cruz. Period. He is, you know, like no. I mean, it's funny because again, growing up in Texas, like, yes, you are comfortable surrounded by guns. A lot of my best friends from home have guns in their homes, like as children, and some of them still probably carry now, although we don't talk about it. Having said that, Andrea is extraordinarily anti-gun, and so we've had a lot of discussions about this. And I used to be like, oh well, you know, for hunting. I mean, you have to remember, I was a kid, you know, but like for hunting, or like it's a cultural thing, and then you have to sit and think about it, and it's like sure, you can say that the regulations in place or the control mechanisms in place aren't working, but you're also actively ensuring that they don't work. You know, and your answer of like only the right people can have guns. Well, who in the hell are the right people? Let's really answer that question. Who are the right people?
Because everybody can have a bad day.
Right. Well, and I also think if your first response to lives being lost are to defend guns, I think our motive is the wrong thing. You know, lives are lost. We can't bring these lives back, but our first response is to defend guns. Something's not right here.
Right.
Well, it's ultimately because they don't care about these lives. Right.
Correct.
I mean, that's that, you know, and it yeah. And so it's like, we do sing the same. I mean, but I thought that after Sandy Hook, I was like, if we can't get it together after Sandy Hook,
yeah,
we're done. We're done for. And we didn't.
Nope.
And I, you know, and you.
Well, Sandy Hook didn't actually happen. It wasn't real. People are making that up, and they're lying about that. Those children died of natural causes and over different periods of time. And so it's just
something that people say.
Oh yeah.
They're huge deniers of Sandy Hook.
I'm quoting there was a time when these naysayers had addresses and physical addresses and phone numbers of the parents of those children that died.
Oh my.
And they would contact them and tell them to stop lying.
Mhm.
They said the Las Vegas shootings, which is the worst one we've had. They said that was fake. We had that on film, and they said it was fake.
Yeah,
So,
but Joe,
I'm sorry,
I said
I'm
that to a friend yesterday. Actually, we were having this conversation, and I said, if 20-something babies, first graders, weren't enough for us to look in the mirror and say we have a problem, nothing will be. These babies went to school, and their parents weren't able to come pick them up. Like, if that wasn't enough for us to say, okay, wait, what will be?
And to bring it back to January 6th, if you had gunmen entering, the Capitol, and that wasn't enough, because I'm sure those representatives and senators had to duck underneath their tables, just like what
Yeah.
these kids have to do as a drill. And if that wasn't enough for gun control.
And it's not been enough, right?
Right.
It's not been enough.
Right.
I mean,
And
they've dug in their heels.
What is enough?
What is enough? Yeah.
You had one congressman or one representative, senator. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't. And my new philosophy is I don't know, and I don't remember the name of people that I consider stupid. Okay, so this man was up there and said on a mic, "No, I wasn't scared. I would have been scared if it had been black people out there."
I saw that. Yeah.
He said this on the mic, and I'm like, I was a mix between you, Joe, and you, Maya, because I looked at it and then I was like, let me turn this TV off because you about to bring out a different side of me, because I was like, that is the dumbest thing I ever heard. Yeah, I wanted, while I was on Texas, I wanted to ask a question. This is Joe again. Joe, you've been up here, so you're the veteran. Joe has been on, as I said, been on Twin before, and we were talking, and we got on the subject of birth certificates, and we got on the subject of race on birth certificates. Now we devised that probably from Georgia on up to Maine, they don't put a race up there, but probably somewhere in mid Georgia, something on down to Texas, that they put race on the birth certificates. Now, Joe, what year were you born, if you don't mind telling us?
1983.
Okay, thank you. So this has not been, this is not the 30s, the 40s, the 50s when TV was in black and white. This was in the 80s when she was born. Michael had already made Thriller. Prince had just made 1999. So okay, Joanna, well, you know what I'm saying? Is it Johanna or Joanna?
It's Joanna, but I go by Joe.
Okay.
That's fine.
I mean, I know you do. I'm sorry. I'm trying. Look, there's a little ounce of professionalism in me. Anyway, so Joe, what does your race say on your birth certificate?
It's listed as yellow.
Maya, why did you make that face?
What does that mean? I've never heard that before. It was just, I'm working on fixing my facial expressions.
No, I'm glad you made that face. I'm
Working
glad
on
you
it.
made that face. That's what I expected you to make.
I don't understand.
Okay, what is it you don't understand?
I didn't know that was a race, that yellow was a race.
Okay, so do you think it is a race?
I don't, but the other day my grandmother told me I have a lot of education and still don't know anything. So I'm not going to say that what I know is best.
Okay. Have you ever heard of yellow being a race?
I have not.
Okay. Tao, you didn't really, I don't know, your facial expression, you was like, yeah, you was like, yeah, okay. Why were you like that?
I was born in Vietnam, so my card didn't have to say yellow. My birth certificate didn't have to say yellow. It just said Vietnamese citizen. But yes, I've seen those cards, and I've seen people who were born here with with that unfortunate marker on their birth certificate.
Okay. Joe, what would you have, and I didn't ask you this before, what would you, well, I wasn't your interviewer, it was y'all were up there with Aya. What would you have liked for it? What would you have wanted it to say?
Asian, you know?
Okay.
If it has to say anything, which I realize for, I don't know, any number of government functional reasons, it does have to say something. But then I think the proper thing is Asian.
Okay.
Or the Asian or Pacific Islander.
Okay. Really? Who is calling me and I'm on the air?
I was like, is that a landline?
No, it's actually my cell phone. I know, but it rings like a
landline?
landline. That's a cell phone. It rings like my landline. Maya, there are some Black people out there now who are saying, why should we support the Asians behind what happened? When they're saying that, your thoughts?
I'm not in support of something that is going to divide a bigger wedge between anyone.
But they, we go in their stores and they don't, they're mean to us. And I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on a second. My mom just put in the chat talking about my phone ringing. If it's not God, don't answer it.
Me, facts. It's not God.
And if y'all want to know where I get my sense of humor from, that was it right there. Let me make sure this thing is on mute, because we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Jesus does call on the main line, so maybe it was him. Maybe it was.
I cannot with you. Okay, so but as I was wow. So yeah, we go into their stores and they treat us mean and they ask us y'all, I'm acting right now, okay? This is not my personal feeling. I just want y'all to know. They go, hurry up and buy. So why should we support them?
And to people who say that, why should we support anyone losing their lives over anything? And I think, we have to go back and look at, obviously the summer wasn't the first time that Black people were gunned down. And I want to make that very clear to people who think that that was the first time that Black people were gunned down. But the summer allowed us, we were at home, and it allowed us to see it very clearly. And remember that feeling? And I don't wish that on anyone. I think that narrative was very interesting to me when people are like, well, why should we support the Asian community? Why should we support racism? I feel like you have an option here. And I don't support racism or condone racism of any kind. Period. That's it.
Okay. Joe, Tyrone mode. You want me to support you, but I didn't see you supporting me when when after George Floyd died and all this stuff was going on. I didn't see you or your people out there supporting me. So why now should I support you?
I mean, I think and I talked about this a little bit in my answer about disappointment in the Asian community.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes, I mean, in my memory, it goes back to Rodney King. And Los Angeles and that divide with the Korean neighborhoods, right? There, it is a problem. There is a portion of the Asian community, a significant portion, I think, that do not support the Black community, and I talked about that. What we have to understand is that this is white supremacy at work.
Right.
White supremacy is what is pitting our communities against each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically saying, like, I mean, that's the whole model minority myth, right? Is that, like, somehow Asians are better because we essentially follow what the white man tells us to do. Like, we which is a weird thing because, and I can't remember what justice this was. I want to say it was, oh my God, I need my phone to check. I want to say it's like Earl Warren, who did overturn Plessy versus Ferguson. I'm just spitting. I'm spitting so much crap right now. I don't know if it's accurate, and I'm embarrassed to say that. I feel like I have to look it up. But he did write this brief about, like, about integration, essentially, how we need to have an integrated school system, an integrated society. But the one thing he did say was, but Asians are so foreign that they will never belong. So this is a Supreme Court justice writing about integration. So I think, like, Asians have to be aware that this conflict is from white supremacy. It is manufactured.
Because I think when we don't do that, we're pointing fingers at the wrong people. Like, we're mad at the wrong people here. Like, this is not where we're supposed to be upset about.
We have a common enemy, you could say, and that enemy confuses us and tells us, no, y'all should fight against yourselves.
Right.
Well, and it is Earl Warren. It's the benefit of having two screens. I was like, all I put in was Earl Warren Ferguson, and boom, it popped up. What was it, a 1954 case? Yeah. Now you gave me something. I got to go back and read that, because see, I did not know that, somebody would actually say that about a race. That you just educated me, really, really. Tao, Joe said early on that when she saw the things at January 6th, she didn't expect to see that here. Now, you're from another continent. Did you expect to see that here?
Well, I did grow up in America. My whole education system was here. Did I expect our capital to be ransacked? No, I don't think any of us expected that. We watched that on Hunger Games and in the movies, and yeah, that happens in the movies, but never in real life.
Well, let me ask you something. Let me ask you. How much about your original birthplace are you familiar with? Like,
I'm about Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we used to visit often, so I'm pretty familiar.
Thank you. Okay, so did something like this ever happen there?
Well, during the Vietnam War, there was a lot of destroying of the capital in Hanoi, and once they worked all the way down to Saigon, there was a lot of destruction by the communist and American troops.
Right.
So
what? But I was gonna say I don't think I was clear about it in your lifetime.
Oh no, I have not witnessed an insurrection of that nature, anything within my lifetime.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. And you obviously know why I'm asking that. But Maya, Joe and Tao said they didn't expect that to happen here. Everything we've ever, every war we've ever won, everything we've ever done has happened just like that.
Yeah.
So why are we surprised? Are we so surprised about this one?
No, I think that's a great question. I was asking that question when people were saying, this isn't who we are. We aren't like this. turn on the TV. This is exactly who we are, unfortunately. And every time something happens, we say this isn't who we are, but it is. It is. And the only way for us not to be like this is for the system. Like, the system is working exactly the way it's supposed to. And I think we were speaking earlier where the system is pitting, two minorities against each other. That's the way it was designed to work. When I spoke earlier about the Breonna Taylor verdict, the system worked exactly the way it was designed to work. And so we have to realize that the only way for this system not to work the way it was designed to work is for us to redo the system. And if people aren't willing to do that, we continue to see things like we see on January 6th. And it's incredibly saddening that this is who we are.
One positive thing, if I can say, about Trump's presidency is that he was a catalyst for change, right? Without him, I mean, we were comfortable in Obama's area. Like, I could get married. I could, do all this fun things. I can be brown in public without more or less fearing for my life. I can't speak for other people, but that was my experience. But then Trump allowed so much crap to go down that we were forced to look at our system. We were forced to address it, and we were forced as a nation to do something about it, to march, to speak up, to redesign our government, or to aid in the redesigning of our government. So that's one positive thing that could have come out of his reign.
Or even, and that's also a positive thing of us having to be at home for the past year,
right,
is that we were forced to not only look in the mirror at ourselves and say, how am I contributing to this? But then we look at the country as a whole and say, okay, what can we do to fix this?
And you find out what type of person you are, Are you,
absolutely.
And I understand pandemic is scary. Pandemic is very scary. But when I want to look back in the future, and my children were like, "What did you do during the Black Lives Movement?"
I can't wait to be in
summer?
my rocking chair and be
I
like, "Let me tell
telling
you."
my story. I was like, I got out there, I marched, I made signs, I spoke up. I want more. And then it told us who the racists are in our neighborhoods, and our neighbors are. So there was that beacon of light.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Kyle, on something you just said.
Yes.
What about what showed you that your neighbors were racist?
Well, the Trump flags. Hold on. The Trump. I live in North Carolina, and I live in a pretty liberal part of North Carolina. I live in Winston-Salem, which is a college town, and it's an art city. I would say this is an oasis of liberalism, of people who think like myself. But there are neighbors who have Trump signs up, and there are neighbors who outwardly express their hatred towards Black and brown people, and their hatreds towards anything that's not them, that's not what they grew up with. I know as a fact that when I go around my daily life, I'm usually one of two Asian people encounter, right? Because Asian people make up only 5% of the United States demographic. So I understand that I'm new. I'm also queer. So I'm like a gay Asian man in your face every day. And within the last 4 years, that's become more of a topic of conversation for certain type of people and who I've crossed paths with. So anyways, more of the story. I've seen it happen, or I've seen a lot of my neighbors who I thought were progressive and want to change the world for the better prove otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Joe, is putting a Trump flag in a yard or hanging out a window, is that enough for you to think that that person is racist?
Or at the very least, either you are and you will openly admit it, or you are, but you are lying to yourself that you care about the economy more whatever the hell that means, or that you hate communism more, which at this point in our society is just code for I hate Chinese people. Or you know what I mean? So it's for me, yes. I understand all the crap that's going to fly my way for saying that. But again, what I was saying before about like it is inherently political. There are certain beliefs now that fall with certain parties.
Okay.
Symbols. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Go ahead.
Symbols matter. We live in a world of symbolism, and we use symbolism to express ourselves. And you have to be educated on what symbols you put on yourself and put in your area of living. And they know damn well what they're putting up when that flag or that name shows up on their person, right? So, yeah, I would agree with Joe.
Okay, Maya, I'm Black, but I have a Trump flag in my yard because he's done more for the economy than Obama and Clinton and all of them. And he's gonna put up a wall. So I am Black, but I got a Trump flag in my yard. Go.
Wow. Yeah. I thought I was going to get the question that Joe got, so I was prepared. So
yeah, I know you now. I know you now. I got you.
You got me.
You. Yep.
I cannot, after this past election, sort of separate the two. I'm voting for policies and not the person. Okay. I'm unable to do that. And I could accept that 4 years ago. I was like, okay, cool. But when people were saying, oh, I'm voting, he jokes around and he says these things that are offensive to people who look like me or even people who don't look like me. But it's fine because you're right. He's going to build the wall and the economy is going to be better and gas prices are going to be lower. But okay. I can't accept that anymore because as we go back to the beginning of our conversation, we saw on January 6th that words do matter. What you say matters. And when people are attacking a sacred building in our nation with a flag with your name on it, what you say matters, and what you say and do matters. And so I can't separate the two.
So, but to this Black person that comes to you and says all this, like Tao, it kind of explained why he saw Vietnamese Americans or maybe even some pure Vietnamese people out there. What do you say to the brother? A perfect example, when the police started looking for people or the FBI started looking for people, they arrested the Black guy that was inside Congress standing on the second, in the balcony. What do you say to him? And he says, I'm for Trump.
I think those people have been widely mistaken because he's not for you. You can be for someone that's not for you. We've all been in that relationship before. You can totally be for someone that's not for you. And so I think I was watching another episode of Torn, and I was actually in the car with a friend. We were going on a trip, and it sparked a conversation between us. And someone said in this episode, they were saying, I kind of feel sorry for them because they believe that this information that they have been given is true. And when I first heard that statement, I was like, that sounds weird. But I mean, when someone is telling you, and I think Tao, you said it earlier, when you believe information that is given to you is factual and true, then you take it and you run with it. And so I think that's why it's important to make sure things that you are sharing on social media are actually factual and true. That's where people get lots of news headlines. But yeah, people are being given information that it's not really factual.
I want to hop on that and say we are trained by in Vietnam, we are trained by white colonizers to think they are the supreme being. You know, they are the best of the best. From the French to the Americans, the white Americans who come over, like America was always number one, and the French and the Dutch were always number one. The white people were always number one. So it's deeply
Well, we're trained like
ingrained.
that too. In
Yeah,
America.
in America, exactly. We are all, as people of color, are trained to idolize a certain thing, and it's a detriment to us. And when we wake up, you know, and then we see someone who look like us and say, "How can you still think like that?" We have to take a moment and readdress ourselves and say, because they are trained to think like that, and they need to be helped along on their journey. That's how I've gotten over, or trying to get over, how so many Vietnamese Americans idolize Trump.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good way to look at it. You're right. We're all trained to think, you know, this is right. And I think, you know, when we see someone, especially in the Black community, if we see someone who has a lot of education and is speaking, whether that is what we think is right or not, then we're like, oh, they must be right. They went to school. They have some sense. Except my grandma, she does not believe that clearly. So there's that. We love grandma.
We love grandma.
We love grandma. We love grandma.
She keeps me humble, y'all.
Yes.
Keeps me humble.
A grandmother does. My grandmother is 90, and I am 53. And she will tell me to take out the trash and all that good stuff. And guess what? I'm going to take out the trash because I don't want to get hit. I don't want to get hurt. So we're not playing that.
Elders have wisdom, right? And we should listen to our elders. Sometimes our elders have some archaic ideas that we have to update them on. Yes. But our elders have wisdom, and it hurt my heart when, you know, when we at the beginning of the pandemic, when we found out, oh, this virus hits older people a lot harder than hits young people, and now with all the Asian people, older Asian elders being attacked, you know, our sources of wisdom and our culture are disappearing, and we have to be a part of that change and a part of that saving of our culture, saving of our intelligence.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes. I love that. Thank you guys for saying that. Somebody needs to hear that. Now, who do I pick on first? Yeah, since you smiled first, Maya.
Oh no.
Racism in theater. Does it exist?
Yes, I think that's. I don't know if you wanted a profound answer. I apologize.
No. Sometimes I just want. No. Sometimes I just want a yes or no. Yeah. I want you to be or not to yes.
Right. It's like, wow, where should I get a quote from? No. Yes, absolutely. And I think, again, like we said earlier, we're noticing in this pause that we had to take in this past year how evident that racism is.
Okay.
Or we're choosing to speak up about it. I think we always knew that's a better way to say. We always knew it was there, but we're choosing to look in the mirror at ourselves.
Okay. Joe.
Well, just to keep going with that, it's you know, this is an industry that takes I can't find better words. Takes advantage of the fact that people are desperate for work. And so when you have that in place, the people, the people who are desperate for work do not have any power. So you might know what's going on. You're not going to say anything about it because you have to work. But when there is no work, suddenly it's an even playing field.
It's easier to,
You don't have anything to lose. You're not going to, you know what I mean? Like there is no work. So this is the opportunity to speak out. Like we all knew it was there, but no one was going to say anything because like, I need to get that next paycheck.
And I think going back on that, this is an industry of power. Well, look at the power dynamics and the people in power in, many industries, but especially this one, when you look around at the people who are in production and are at the top on Broadway, they don't look like us.
Casting does not look like us.
Yeah.
I think casting plays a major role in how we're going to reinvent theater for people of color, for the new generation, for theater needs to survive, and how it's going to survive is by being diverse. Otherwise, it's going to disappear. And it starts with casting. It starts with casting thinking, oh, that leading man doesn't have to be white. That leading man doesn't have to be 6 foot tall. That leading man doesn't have to have blue eyes, blonde hair, right? But casting has a lot of power, and we need to address that. Casting is 90% white people, especially in the film industry, right? It's hard to find an Asian, or in my perspective, it's hard to find an Asian casting director. Even in Asian films, they're being cast by white people and what white people think Asians should look like, which is very disturbing.
What they should do. It's so when we see Black people or Asian people or any people of color on TV, they're not the leading woman or man. They're the
best
cousin.
friend, or
the cousin that pops in that like is struggling a lot or something,
or the comic relief, and we're never allowed to say, I can fall in love. I am brown, I am Black, and I too can fall in love. I too can make your heart palpitate. Give me the chance. But because white Americans like to see themselves on TV, that's become very hard up until 10 years ago. Up until 10 years ago, the majority of the audiences were, wealthier white folk who like to see white things on TV. It's easier. I know for me, the first time I saw gay Asian men falling in love with each other on screen, my heart skipped a beat, and I was so happy and I was so proud. And I can only imagine that's what white people feel 90% of the time. So, so that is something we have to address. That I can still feel happy and excited when I see people of other races be happy and excited.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw Brandy as Cinderella,
Brandy,
you couldn't tell me anything. I mean, and just think about, that was my Cinderella. That was when I knew I could be a princess.
Yes.
Because you see yourself, and so you're right. That is, I guess that's what everyone else feels.
There's something magical when your art form reflects who you are.
Who you are, yeah.
Okay, Joe. Somebody said, and it may have been you, about that everyone in theater knew it existed, but now they're speaking up because none of us are working.
How are you going to do Peter Pan? How are you going to do Peter Pan and tell me you don't know that's problematic? And that's like every youth theater in the country.
But
you know what I mean?
But plan one of them, and this has actually been said to me by a few people here. I didn't think there was racism in theater. I didn't think it existed. I thought everything was fine in theater. I didn't know that there was a problem.
I don't shame anyone who says that, because you're right. We make it look fine. Why would it not be fine? We have Hamilton.
Right.
Why would it not be fine?
It's the analogy that everything on stage will look perfect, but backstage I'm hustling, I'm throwing up, I'm changing clothes.
Absolutely.
Okay, well then, and Joe, I'm still.
Sorry.
No, I was like, yes. This is what I want.
They're like, we gotta say this.
Right, we
got this. We got you, girl. We got you. Do not stop, y'all. Don't stop. Don't stop. But it's just funny because I was like, so Joe, how? Oh, okay.
Joe's like, listen.
And then I'm like, okay, look, you know what? I'm gonna let them have it. So Joe, but now that it, I mean, why are y'all bringing it up now? I mean, why didn't y'all talk about this years ago? Why all of a sudden you bring it up? We didn't know it existed. We didn't know this stuff existed. We didn't know that y'all were having this problem. We didn't know that when we have a cast and Maya's the only Black girl, and we bring a hairdresser in, the hairdresser doesn't know what to do with Maya's hair. We didn't realize that. So Joe, why are y'all why bringing it up the way you are? And
So I call BS on that. I call BS on people have not been bringing it up. People have been bringing it up for decades. But does a producer feel pressure to listen? Or has a producer felt pressure to listen? There's something, I mean, for all of the ills of social media, there is that advantage of finding, numbers. And people are more willing to speak up and support each other now and put pressure. So it's not that they weren't voiced, and sometimes a single individual in a cast or production of entirely white people may not feel comfortable saying something, and that's I think the reason for that is obvious, like, because you have to protect yourself. But I think it would be disingenuous to say that people have not said anything prior to 2020.
I also think, sorry, Joe.
No, go for it. Go for
it. I also think again, we shift the blame whenever it's convenient. Well, why didn't you say anything before, but someone's saying something now? I had a very, again, interesting conversation with a group of friends, none which look like me. And a friend said to me, well, why are you so gung-ho about this now? I've never heard you say anything about this before. And I said, because I became accustomed to making myself uncomfortable so that everybody else in the room could be comfortable. And I am so tired of doing that. I will no longer do that. And I think, Juan, you're right. In many industries that I have found myself in, I am one of the only brown girls. And when there are people who do hair and makeup and they aren't able to make my hair and makeup, I was told one time I was the only girl who had to bring my own foundation. We shouldn't have to make people feel that way. And so then what does that one person in the room say? Out of fear of not being labeled as the angry Black girl or the girl who's always complaining. That's, you're accustomed to going, okay, well, I just don't say anything. I just, I little myself so that everybody else in the room is comfortable. And I think after a while, people get fed up.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the reasons are that you little yourself? Just real honestly stopping and thinking about it, Maya. What do you think? Why do you think you do that?
Because I don't want to be difficult. I don't want to be confrontational. Because once you're labeled in any, in a professional world,
Mm-hmm.
in the pageant world, in theater, if you're labeled as that, it's detrimental to your career in that prospective area. And I had to look at myself. I did have to do some reflection and say, man, yes, I am this person who, walks in the room and I, can talk to anyone. But there were so many times and instances where people made microaggressions, where they said things. And I was like, you give other people, you're like, did you hear that? But okay, if we say something, everybody else is going to be uncomfortable. And now you're the confrontation.
So you were willing to give up you being comfortable and you feeling safe.
Mm-hmm.
You willing to give that up because you didn't want to be labeled.
And I think that some of that comes with that. We talked about this earlier about people in power, and it comes with that perceived notion that maybe you'll gain some of that power, whether it is a title or a job or a role, that you might gain some of that power if you just sit back and be quiet. And I think that comes also from older generations where you just be quiet. We don't rock the boat so that we can get what we want. Do we ever and then I think we kind of realized, wait, that's not working. That's not working. So yes, unfortunately, I was willing and I was quiet. I didn't say things when they weren't okay. I politely corrected the people who mixed my name up with another girl who didn't look nothing like me, because, I guess they just thought we looked alike. But no, you can learn everyone else's name. You know that there's an Ashley C and an Ashley A. Then you can learn our names too. So yeah, it was unfortunate, and I don't want any girl younger than me as a mentor, as a whatever. I don't want them to have to grow up and do that in those same situations.
Joanna, didn't you want to say something? Hold on.
No, go ahead, Tal. Go ahead, Tal.
Go ahead, Tal.
Maya, what you were saying about names, it's the same thing with my last name. It's not a traditionally Western name, but I remember an interview with an actress. She was on Orange is the New Black, Uzo Uzumaki. And she said she grew up somewhere, and her mother said, if they can pronounce Tchaikovsky or Gutenberg or Stanislavski, they can pronounce Uzo Uzumaki. So like, it's not the fact that they can't do it. You just have to.
You just don't want to.
They just don't want to do it, and you have to be strong in your heritage, in who you are, and say, "This is my name." Please don't get me confused for the other person who doesn't even look like me.
Right. Well, and I think people, they don't understand that, but your name is so very important, which is why I try to, say people's names when I'm speaking to them, because that is. You were given that at birth. That is who you are. That is your identity. And when you just mistakenly call me someone else because it's the other only Black person in the room, people don't understand that is so degrading. And we have to stop that.
Right.
Okay. Now, Joe, what did you have? Did you have anything?
Well, what I was going to say was, I don't know if you guys have seen the Hassan Minaj skit on Netflix. King of, I don't remember what he called it, King of something. Anyway, where he talks about the tax that people of color, brown people, Black people, Asians have to pay to live in America. The race tax. And the race tax is, because basically, like his parents, they had neighborhood kids after 9/11 throwing bricks at their cars and at their houses, and his dad just got up and swept the glass away, and he was like, and I was so angry. I was like, why don't you fight back? Why don't you call the cops? Why don't you do something? And he was like, this is the price we pay for being in America. I think immigrant parents especially have a very heavy sense of that, of this is just what we put up with for the privilege of being able to be here.
Right. We get to be in the room.
So their entire mindset is on survival. We just want you to survive. And what they at least what my parents told me is we survive so that you can succeed. Because to a certain extent, they believe in America as a meritocracy, right? Immigrants, I think, want to believe in that. And then you get to a certain point, like my generation gets to a point where you become an adult and you're like, that's not true, though. That's actually not true.
Yeah, that is a lie fed to you by those colonizers.
Yeah. To keep you in line.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm hearing is we are okay with speaking up for ourselves now out in public, but in the theater we revert back to being what our parents and grandparents and ancestors were. Yes or no?
It's hard because I could say, so take the film industry, right? As an Asian American, we see like 1 or 2 Asian films a year.
Mm-hmm.
We only get 1 or 2 chances to be good, right?
Mm-hmm.
If a white film flops, that's okay. There's like 15 more. But if your one Asian film, if your one Asian blockbuster film flops, no more chances. You're done. And that's the same thing as me being an actor. If I cause a ruckus. If I'm trouble, they can hire someone else. Like Joe said, I'm desperate to work. I love to be on stage, and I take the meager pay because I want to work on stage, but I am also replaceable.
And no, sorry, go.
And it's just I've come to the point in my life where I'm like, I have to fight for my right to be there. I did not spend all this money. My parents did not travel halfway across the world to say, Tao, you are replaceable. I know my worth, and it's time that I fought for my worth.
I almost find myself in all of the worlds that I feel like I exist in, where I feel, and I don't know if anyone else feels like this, you're a representative. You kind of hold that weight of everyone else on your shoulders because you are one of two in the room. Mm-hmm. So if you walk in and you're not on your P's and Q's, well, then now you're a representative for the whole community, and you don't want, because, if someone else is, angry today in rehearsal, no one's going to say, oh, all white people are so angry. No one says that. So if I walk in, I have to be pleasant. I have to work harder. We have this notion of you have to work harder, 10 times harder than your white male counterpart just to get halfway, to where they are. And so sometimes I do still feel that, okay, like I have to be bigger and better just to be, halfway there.
This is very disheartening, but okay. But it's true. Do you any of you think there'll ever be a point where you will fully speak up for yourself and say, you know what, Tao kind of said it, but like you're just gonna speak up for yourself? Okay, so this isn't right. This is not what we're gonna do.
I think I'm getting there.
Without okay, well, I was gonna say without fear. No, you're fine. Without fear of I'm gonna get kicked out.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely getting there. And I think that comes from creating these places where you're able to do that. I'm going to plug the amazing people I work with at North Carolina Theater, but I work with some pretty awesome people. And I'm able to sit in meetings and say, can we rethink that? Or this is how I'm feeling today. This is how I'm coming to you today. And no one is going to go, there's the young girl, because I'm also, the youngest person in the office, And so there's a lot of these things where I walk in, or log in every day. And it's like, okay, all of these things are different. But I work with some awesome people who accept that. And so we have to continue, and all of us have to work together. This is not just minority groups. Everyone needs to collectively work together and create these places that people are allowed to speak up and speak their mind, and allowed to have a bad day. There are constraints to your bad day. Do not go kill people when you have a bad day. Right. I feel like I should say that. That is the disclaimer to your bad day. So, but we are all allowed to have bad days.
Okay. Anyone else on that? and one of the reasons why I harbor on that is because I was speaking with someone earlier today, and this person more or less said, well, why should I be the one that has to sacrifice myself for somebody? And I'm like, well, if nobody makes the sacrifice, we never get ahead.
It's that vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm. It's like it's like wearing a mask. It's like wearing a mask in public. Why should I wear a mask? I'm
not sick.
I'm not sick. Why do I have to protect my neighbors? Mm-hmm. Why do I have to be the better man?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And to that I say, because it's the right thing to do, because you want a just community, because you want to be a good person. But sometimes people, either they don't want to be good people, or they can't get that idea, wrap their head around that idea that it's just good to be good. It's good to care about others.
It costs nothing.
It costs nothing.
Yes, Joe.
I think, because your question is like, do you think any of us will ever get to the point where we stand up for ourselves? I have found that it is easier for me to stand up for someone else
than myself.
And for multiple reasons, right? Part of it is like personality or however I was raised. Part of it is also like, you know, a sense of compassion or empathy or whatever. And but it's, I think it's also like, if I'm in a certain position of not even of power, of privilege, and so I'm going to speak specifically to Black Lives Matter. There's a certain amount of privilege that Tao and I enjoy as Asians versus Black, right? Like there is I think an undeniable level of privilege there. If I don't use my privilege to be a buffer, so like when all the I'm trying not to curse. I'm trying not to use language, but when all the
are we not supposed to curse?
I don't know.
Oh, you say what you want to.
No one
Talk.
else
Go
has
ahead.
said anything, and you guys
Say what
know,
you gotta
hey,
say.
this is really hard.
Right.
I'm not
Say what you
usually
gotta
drawing
say.
it all the time,
This
But-
ain't ABC, CBS, and NBC. Talk, girl. Go ahead.
but
if
you
somebody
know,
don't like it, turn it off.
when you have all the assholes trolling people's pages about Black Lives Matter and about and just spewing all this racist shit, then it's like, you know what? I don't expect my Black friends to have the energy to deal with this right now. So I'm going to wade in there and I'm going to be the buffer. Like that, you know, like feeling compelled, that's the right thing to do. That's what I have to do. But when it comes to, I've been relatively quiet about Asian hate because it feels, I mean, on one hand, it feels self-serving, you know, like, and, but it's like, what is there to say when it comes to my own demographic? Does that make sense? Like,
Yes,
Completely.
It does, because basically we've all been saying that. We've all been saying basically the same thing. Like, you're basically saying what Maya said about, I don't want to be seen as an angry Black woman, so I just keep my mouth shut. You're saying you don't want them to go, oh God, Joe is complaining and again, or Joe is complaining and blah, blah, blah.
Especially when it's about yourself.
Right.
Because
right.
so then when you're like, it's like, oh, she wants this, but if your food is wrong at the restaurant, and I'm like, excuse me, her food is wrong, then it looks like I am, I'm compassionate, like I'm worried about you. But if I did not order this, sir, like my food is wrong, here she goes again. It kind of shifts the narrative a little bit. Yeah,
it does. So do any of you think that you would ever be completely comfortable in theater? From walking in, because see, this is, and I'll say, this is why I'm saying this. Personally, I have walked into a room on first day of first rehearsal on read through, and I'm the only Black, and no one has said anything or physically done anything at that point, but I'm instantly uncomfortable. Do you think there'll ever be a time, because when white people walk in, they don't think that. That's part of that programming. They don't think that. Because for the most part, it's going to be, unless it's the Wiz or the Color Purple, it's going to be majority white. Hey, I'm just saying.
If you're doing it the correct way. Let's point that
out. Okay, side note. Someone asked me, well, why can't white people do the Wiz? You can. It's the Wizard of Oz. Don't get up there. Do not get up there singing no bad news. If you ain't got it, okay. You know what? I'm gonna hush. Get back. Okay, now we're back.
Sorry.
Press play. We're not gonna stay on that one. I just can't.
Wait.
But we walk in the room and it's a learned thing for us.
Analyze it.
When we walk in the door, we are prepared mentally to see something that is going to make us uncomfortable, that we're going to be the minority. Will there ever be a day when we don't? Do you think there'll ever be a day when you don't feel that? And what is it going to take? Yeah, I know I'm doing, and I don't like to do multiple questions, but I have to. What is it going to take for you to feel that way? Joanna.
Well, I
start with
mean,
her.
I think like you're asking about theater, but I think it's like, are we ever going to feel that way in America?
Like in the grocery store.
Mhm.
You know,
In
I mean,
Walmart.
yeah, it's in America. I mean,
Well, you know what? You know what? I'm going to back you up a little bit. I want to say strictly theater because theater is where you guys are comfortable.
Right.
So you walk into a theater that you're used to working in, but you still have to keep your guard up because you're the minority. Is there ever gonna come a time when that doesn't happen? Because honestly, when I don't know for sure because I'm black as midnight, but most of the time, white people probably don't think that way. And it's not that they're thinking bad of us; they just don't have to think that way. But we always do. You guys, in one form or another, have sat here and told me you are on your P's and Q's when you walk into a theater to make sure they don't discredit you because of your race. That's basically what you all said. So is there ever going to be a time when you can walk in that theater and that's the last thought in your head?
That's go, Joanna.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's such a loaded question because for me personally, for most of my life, I have been the only, or one of three, brown girls or brown people that look like me. And I don't know when I got to the point in my life where I walk in to a theater or walk into a place and I'm not analyzing it immediately. If I'm not, and then I noticed this thing when I first started working in the professional world at my last job, where we were like, do you notice that when you walk into a big staff meeting, all the Black people congregate towards each other? I see another one, like I'll sit next to you. I got you a seat. And it's just, when did I learn that? When, I'm now trying to think about that, where it's just always been a thing where, if I'm in a rehearsal, one of my closest friends now, who's he lives in New York, we got close because we walked into Acting One together and we looked like each other and him and I sat next to each other. And I don't know how that became a thing. And so I'm not sure when it will never be a thing, because it's what I do.
I want to echo what Maya just said. I have this thing where if I'm with a close white friend at any function, I'll literally look at them and was like, do you see that other brown person? Do you see that Black person? And I will I gotta go talk to them. Bye.
Right.
It's instinctual. The moment I enter a public area, I always count to see how many brown and Black people are in there. And I eventually will strike up a conversation with them because it's instinctual in me to be like, oh, you get it. You've been counting too.
I don't know if any of you watch Blackish, but that episode about the head nod,
yes,
where I see you, you see me. We're gonna sit next to each other. Now we're besties. And I just, it's so weird. I'm gonna be thinking about that for the next couple of days. So thanks, Juan. About where that began in my life. And yes, I was very fortunate that I was in places that, I was a scholarship kid. Let's just put that on the table. It wasn't because my mama had any money. But I was the only one. And then when there were two of us, it was a party. I don't know.
No, Joe, yeah, go.
I think, I don't know if I'll ever get to the point in my life where whenever I walk into a new space, I'll feel comfortable. But at this point, having built up a relationship with certain theaters, I am comfortable in those places, because we have built up a relationship, because we have an understanding.
And that goes back to those safe places. We know these people, even if they don't look like us, and we know that they aren't our enemy or the people who are going to say something outlandish. They're going to remember our name. And so knowing that makes me comfortable. I am comfortable to walk into some theaters, absolutely. But new places, there will be the analyzing. There will be seeing if there's someone else that looks like me. there'll be, I remember I was in college and I was an orientation leader, and if parents came up to me because I was one of the only brown girls, and they're like, "How do you like it here, sweetie?" And you would give your diplomatic answer because I am used to that my entire life. And I remember one mom said, "No, sweetie, come sit with me. How do you really like it here?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." And it was kind of like, what I'm talking about. Like, how are you treated? I don't really care about the dining hall food. That's neither here or there. How do you really like it here? And so it's always going to be one of those things. I think for a while, I don't know if I'll ever not do that or feel that way.
Okay. And so thinking of the next generation as far as theater and stuff goes, if someone of your race were to come up to you and ask you, since Maya put it out there, and they were to ask you, would you give them the photo card that's at the front desk speech, or would you be truthful about what you've experienced in theater? Because I don't think everyone has been truthful with us about what we should expect as far as our race goes. Because again, we're still going through this vicious, like Tal, you said it. Things started happening for us 10 years ago. Theater's been around since that's gaga. That's a number. It's got like 17 zeros. Theater's been around that long, and you're telling theater's been around longer than we've dealt with slavery, and and all this stuff. So why is it just 10 years ago?
There's a revolution within my generation, the millennials. There is the access to the internet. The internet is double-edged sword. It is a great source of information, and it's a great source of disinformation, right? But about 10 years ago, I can, instead of hauling around my computer, going home, I can do everything on here, and I can have all my information on here. And I could choose, and everyone's connected to the internet. I can speak to people in Vietnam in a hot second, as opposed to being like, oh, let me call them up or dial up, right? So about 10 years ago, that revolution started happening. And then people who have immigrated over here, their children have grown up and are able to speak the language. That's very important. I have to make that point. My parents are less successful than I am because I can speak this language fluently most of the time. Most days.
Same.
Most days, right? I am able to achieve more and get more out of this American dream than my parents just because I can speak the language. So people like me who grew up here who can speak English to English producers, we can convey our emotion and we can convey our thoughts. And we're not just, because some people look down on people who have accents, who speak broken English. A lot of times people assume I don't speak English. And sometimes I let them assume that because I don't want to talk to people. But most of the time, whenever I enter a store I go to, I very precisely say, hello, how are you? Thank you or I speak very properly to be like, I speak your language. We're cool.
Yeah.
So anyways, it started about 10 years ago with the internet, with our generation knowing the language better and taking that and succeeding with that.
I don't know if I'm going to veer extremely off topic. And if I do, bring me back. But something sparked this in my head about, when do we start feeling comfortable in places and what are their roles for people who look like us? And I'm not going to say I was 100% on board and this is what everybody should do. But do we remember the Hamilton casting call and the drama behind? Right. And so remember when it said, we want
people of color.
Actors, we want people of color, and the world blew up. Like people were like not okay. And I was talking to someone about this recently, and their response to me was, "Well, what if someone said we want we want only white people. And I so desperately wanted to say, but so many things have been that way. It's just not written on paper.
Right.
And as soon as we put it on paper and say it the opposite way, it's racism. It's it's all of these things. But for how many years has it been, we only want white people? We don't.
Well, see, they never actually come out and say they only want white people. They just do it.
Right. But that doesn't make it any better.
Oh no, it doesn't. I agree with you. You know what? It's funny that you're saying this because where I work, pretend like you don't see that. We have a diversity. These are my thoughts. Don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
I have some communication for you.
Right, okay.
Disclaimers.
Right, I'll tell you me. Okay, so we have a new diversity module thing that we all had to take. And at first, I was like, I don't want to do this. God, it's going to be some video from the 70s. Well, it wasn't from the 70s. It was modern. And the supervisor, it was modern. The supervisor was a female. The boss was a female. The supervisor underneath was a white female. The supervisor underneath her was a white male. Now, underneath him was a Latino woman and a white man. Those two were hiring people. They were interviewing people to hire. Each of them could hire one person. So they got down to the last 3 people. The Latino woman interviewed 3 Latino women. The boss told the supervisor, I'm not sure about letting her hire somebody because everyone she interviewed was Latino. And he was like, oh, and then he asked her, well, what about the white man that did the 3 interviews? And he asked her, how did his interviews go? Or his people, what did his people look like? She said, oh, they were all fine. Everything was fine. They were 3 white men. So the white man interviewed 3 white men, and there's nothing wrong there. But the Latino woman interviewed 3 Latino women. And all these people, mind you, were the last applicants. They were the most qualified. But because the Latino woman interviewed 3 Latino women, that's a problem. She only interviewed Latino women. So the norm is, the program is, if it's white men, it's no big deal.
Right.
I am not a black actor. I'm an actor who's black. A white actor is just an actor. But I'm considered a black actor, which is the reason for the first question of every show. I am United Statesian. I am not African. I am African American, but your emphasis is on the African part. My emphasis is on the American part. So this same thing happens in theater. We're chosen because of our heritage. And excuse me, mama, and we're treated like shit once we get in the door. It's got to stop somewhere. And if you guys are telling me you are willing to make yourself completely uncomfortable just so 12 other people can be comfortable, and understand these theaters, they're getting minority scholarships because you are in there. They're getting minority grants because you are in there. And they are still treating you like a second-class citizen. And that's my whole point. Somebody that came along before me, maybe if they had opened their mouth, I wouldn't be going through it. So I'm going to open my mouth. I'm not going to be silent about it. Okay, now, because we got about 15 more minutes, so let me ask this, and this is in theater, out of theater. This is both. So Donald Trump is gone. Everything is so much better. Donald Trump is gone, and may he rest in peace. and I mean it exactly like I say it. I know that phrase is normally for the dead. Yes, may he rest in hell
Oh shit.
where he belongs. Now, so Donald Trump is gone, and do you think the racists are going to go back in the closet?
Well, they haven't. They haven't.
Sweetie, it's only been a few months. It hadn't even been 100 days yet.
But they never went back in the closet.
They weren't as out as they have been the last 4 years. Oh, they've been very bold the last 4 years. They weren't that bold when Obama was in there. They weren't. You were younger. How old are you? You're 12, right?
Don't use her age against her.
I wish.
No.
I just paid my property tax on my new car today. I wish I was 12.
Maya is a strong person, and her thoughts are very valid. And I think, I think
Yes,
she,
Ann.
yeah, I think
Yes,
she is correct. Or I think her observation of have they gone back to the closet? I don't believe so. I would echo what she said. I would say that they have a strong foot in America right now, and they're not taking that foot off anytime soon for me. Soon enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are. Oh, and by the way, you see what it said?
12.
There we go.
So, we brought up these. You guys, Joe, you said it. You said we have this downtime. Nobody's working, and so we're able to talk about all this. Masks come off. The world opens back up. We are back in theater again. No, I'm saying later.
The racist mask. The
I'm
racism.
sorry.
The mask of
No,
racism.
I'm saying please keep your mask on for a while.
No,
But
I'm
yes,
talking about
when they come-
Yes, I'm saying when they come back.
Sorry, I just really
You know what?
made me-
You know what? I've had it in for you since the first question, and you knew the answer. So I've had it in for you. Okay.
Sorry.
I got you. So masks have come off. We're back in the theater. Does this platform still work, or are we gonna just give it up because we want to get back in there because Tao said he wants to work, or are we gonna go back and say, okay, we didn't go through what we just went through for a whole year and a half or however long it takes before we get back in, for you to go back to business as usual?
Are you asking Joe this or?
I'm asking anybody.
Oh, Tao, do you want to go first or do you want?
Just because my memory escapes me so
Okay.
quickly.
If you were 12, huh? No, I'm kidding.
If theaters want to survive, they will learn a very genuine lesson from this movement, from this time. Once again, if they want to be prosperous in the future, they will listen to their Black and brown artists, and they will learn they will learn of this, the lesson from this time. So I don't think this will disappear. I think this will aid us in getting equality, in getting harmony, and coexisting in the theater to create beautiful, diverse theater.
Okay,
Yes.
Maya.
So slight plug before I start, shameless. So through my advocacy, through as Miss Dunn, I've done these Monday motivational arts chats, similar to this. They're shorter with an artist from across the country, and it's been so interesting to talk to these artists. Some were living their dreams on Broadway, and the world shut down, and everyone has put things in perspective. And I think when we go back, we're going to have a different perspective than, Tao talked about earlier, where it's like, I want to work. This can be gone in an instant. This does not define us anymore. My work does not define me anymore. My passions define me, but me having the status doesn't define me anymore. And I think artists are aware of that more than ever now. And so I think you're absolutely right, Tao, if you want to survive, if your theater wants to survive, you're going to have to do better, because it's not a request anymore. You have to do better, or you're not going to survive.
Okay. Joe, do you have any thoughts on that one, or?
No, I think I'm old and cynical and tired. I think I'm old, just because, and so I'm gonna take this out of theater for a second. But it's like you can see the problems in every system in this country, right? They are everywhere. And I had a moment where I thought 2020 was our chance to fix it. And I do not see them getting fixed. I see them getting worse. You know, it's like the people who were wealthy at the top of 2020 managed to get wealthier. The people who were struggling in 2020, a lot of them have less than what they had before. By the end of it, you know, our healthcare system has not been fixed. Our postal system has not been fixed. But I'm talking about like things of just general public access and things for the good of the people, right? That were systems that were supposed to be working for us, that were not, that now are working less than they even were before. That does not give me hope. You know, that's one of those things that makes me think. I feel like whatever, when I say they, find the Republican Party think that they can get away with, they will. You know, so I think like the one piece that has honestly given me hope has been Stacey Abrams managing to get the vote out, right? But the thing that gives me that discourages me, disheartens me, is the incredible voter suppression campaign that the GOP has been pulling. So it's that kind of thing that makes me say, like, I don't know. I think time will tell. We cannot relax. We can't get comfortable because, you know, in 2 years and in 4 years, I think the pushback will be worse. It's like every opportunity we have to educate, to mobilize, to maintain, or even gain power, we have to take, because they won't stop. And it's, and so I think that's in a way how I feel about theater, is I think there's certain theaters, especially in more rural communities, if they think they can get away with it, will get away with it.
I think to piggyback off of that really quickly before we go is, you know, this is hard work. This work is not easy. And, you know, my grandmother is tired. My mother is tired. And quite frankly, I'm tired too. But you're right. We cannot let up. And I think even on a smaller scale than, you know, what's happening all over the country, is where I saw something where it said, you know, you can be racist, you can be homophobic, you can be a downright dirty person, but it costs nothing to be kind, and it will cost everything if you open your mouth and it comes out sideways now. And I think we have to keep holding people accountable and continue to say, especially people who have this power, and power meaning money, you know, status or fame. Sure, you can be a bad person, but as soon as you come out of your mouth publicly and say something, or even privately and people are recording you, and say something that's not okay, we're going to hold you accountable. And I think that is the work. And I think I come from a generation where, you know, I want this instant gratification. So it is very difficult when it's like, but we've worked so hard and we're still just right here, and we just moved a hair. You know, we have to continue to do the hard work, and continue to be willing to do the hard work. And you're right. I think that comes with speaking up for ourselves, and, you know, allowing for the room to be uncomfortable for a bit, if that means that change is going to happen in that space.
Thank you. Okay, I got one more question, but first I want to say hello to Laura, hello to Maya, to Tora, and to April. All y'all are watching. We so much thank you. And yes, I went to your Facebook pages to see who you were. Tora, you and I know the same people. You know Jimmy and his aunt Pat and Mickey and stuff. I'm from Kinston. Who are you, Tora? You got to tell me who you are. Anyway, last question. What is a safe space? Tal.
What?
Wait a minute. Let me give you context.
Wait.
Let me. Yeah, no, right. Hold. So you're a new actor. You're new in theater.
Mm-hmm.
You go in the first day for a read through,
Mm-hmm.
and they read all the rules. And rule number 7 says this theater is a safe space, and then they go right on to number 8. What is a safe space, Tal?
The definition of a safe space in the theater context for me would be a space of communication, a space of education, and a place where I do not feel like I have to hide a part of myself in order to do my work, in order to be the best, whatever you hired me to be. It starts before I enter the first room, the room for the first read. And it starts with the company managers. And I'm at the point where I can decide not to work for a certain company because I know their history or I know their policies. So a safe space for me begins before I step into that room. I have to know that it's a safe space before, and me as an older adult now, I need to know that it's a safe space before I venture in there. Okay, Maya? Same.
I'm gonna not answer the question the way that you probably. I think a safe place is a place where you don't have to tell me it's a safe place. I truly believe that if you have to tell me it's a safe place, I don't feel safe anymore. And I think that goes back to, where do we get to that point where we don't walk in the room and immediately feel uncomfortable? How do we? And I think that is different from every space, every theater. How do you make me feel comfortable without telling me that you're trying to make me feel comfortable?
So in other words, the whole, I have Black friends, I have Asian friends.
Yeah, like I can't be racist. Like we can't offend you because this is a safe place and we have a sticker on the wall to prove it. Now I'm not safe.
Thank you. Ooh, okay. Joe, same question.
I think in a more conventional context. So I'm thinking back, like, when you would see this is a safe space on a counselor's wall, and usually it had like a rainbow flag attached to it. So what that said to me at the time is, we're not going to tell your parents. We're not going to kick you out because of who you are. So I think the general idea is one of transparency, right? So there's nothing shady. There's nothing behind anyone's back. Respect, and like Tal said, communication. And then for me in theater, that also extends to compensation.
Okay. But now I will say this to the three of you. As a new actor, and see, you guys told me what it meant to you because you've been in theater. So it's the programming. You gave me the explanation of because you've been there. But as a brand new actor, and I walk in and you tell me number 7 is this is a safe space, and then you go on to number 8. I don't know what that means. How many theaters have you been in that when they are reading these things that they explain to you what a safe space is? Is a safe space nobody walk under that ladder because it's going to fall? Or is a safe space they were talking negatively about Black people while I was in the back dressing room? Is a safe space they were talking, well, I'm sorry, they were talking negatively about black people, and I was in the back dressing room, and I can go to somebody and talk about it. Is a safe space. They were talking negatively about gay people in the back room, and I can go and talk to somebody about it. What is a safe space? It's the programming. We run down things because we have to.
Right.
Not because it means anything. It's because that's what we have to do. I support Black Lives. We support Black Lives Matter, and we stand against racism. We support Asian issues, and we stand with our Asian friends.
What does that
That's
mean?
at the top. That's the top of every statement now. It means nothing anymore. It's like saying, "Hey, how are you?" You expect the other person to say fine. If they start going into all their medical history of what's wrong with them, you're like, "Oh, hold up." But the programming is to say, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
That's the programming. So,
well, I think
we are a safe space. Go ahead.
Well, I think that goes back to, kind of what I was saying. Words mean nothing anymore. Yes, we can say these things. And I think that comes back to also, when, celebrities make mistakes and then they go on Instagram and they have an apology. That means nothing to me anymore because I want to see this action. And I think we are in this limbo in theater, per se, where we are, making these statements. We are, saying that we are a safe place. But when the masks are off, metaphorically and literally, when the masks are off and we are back elbow and elbow together, that is when we're going to see it. I don't think we can say what we are, or we can say what that means really anymore. It's going to be the action.
I want to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go.
I want to give a little shout out because speaking about safe space, I was at a theater and they actually took a moment to say, this is a safe space and this is what it means. And this is how you can create change. For me, it was at Cape Fear Regional Theater. And I did a production with them, and Mary Kay, who is a fantastic artistic director, literally said, if you want change to happen, literally go to the person who will be the person to cause that change. Do not fear that. Do not be afraid to go change. And I did. We were doing a show, and I was like, this line, there's an alternate lyric that the composer has chosen for us. We could say this alternate, and I did go up to them and talk about that. But she was one of the first artistic directors to be like, if there is something I don't see or the production people don't see, really go be comfortable in expressing that. And I've never heard that in my life and all my years of doing theater, someone of my boss saying, if I'm doing something wrong, tell me. So I'm very thankful for people like Mary Kate running theater down there.
Yeah.
And that is folks, that is the show. That is what I'm talking about. Lauren, you ain't got to come on if you don't want to. I know. I'm just saying. My grandmother's watching.
Hi, Grandma.
My 90-year-old grandmother.
Hello, Grandma.
Y'all say hey to, thank you. And Tora said her late grandfather's family is from Kinston. Girl, let me find out. I know you, and we know. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. Okay, Tora. Okay. Anyway, what's your name? Leuren. It's all yours. It's all yours. You can have it.
You guys are on fire tonight. I love Torn Thursdays. So
okay, hold on. Stop for a second. Stop. Let me say this. Hold on. I know you're talking about that.
And it was so sweet.
Tora, I'm adding you as a friend right now. I'm adding you. Tora done said we cousins. I'm adding you as a friend on Facebook. Okay. Now let me go back to the violin. Go ahead, Lauren, talk.
We love Torn Thursdays. We can find our cousin.
yes. That's the sound bite right there, Maya.
That is it.
Thank you everyone for watching. Come back next week. Next week, I'll be all over the place. I will be on Strictly Speaking at NC State, and I'm not sure how you turn into that, but I'll share University Theater's website, and Joshua Reeves will be interviewing me, which I'm not a fan of, but I will do it for the kids. I will do it
Do it for the children.
I will do it for the children.
Do it for the vine, yes.
Not the vibe.
And Wednesday or Thursday, I will be with Jesse Gephardt and Brian Westbrook at Theater in the Park, and I will be taking over their Facebook. So you'll have to tune in for our conversation over there. We'll be talking about the very funny buyer and seller, and I'm sure there's other wonderful things planned for next week, but I can't remember what they are because I'm old and I'm tired. So there it is.
Can't relate.
You're 12.
You know what?
Maya.
Thank you. She's 12. That's why she can't relate. In fact, she should have been asleep. She should have been in bed a half hour.
Stop it. I should have been in bed half an hour ago.
Okay, you too. Something else. So we have find Lauren, see if you can find the flyer thing, BIPOC directory.
Oh man, what you're doing this to me again, and you know I won't be able to find it. But okay, I'll try to find it.
Okay, or maybe I should find it then. Lord have mercy, I was going to call us RDU on stage. Y'all, we changed our name on Sunday, and I ain't got used to it yet.
It's still new.
One day I called it belt line to my fat waist or something. I don't know. Just Beltline to Broadway.
Beltline to Broadway.
We have started.
And I don't want to call her. I don't want to call her out, Juan. But Laura, you are on here. You're watching tonight on Facebook. Laura is from Broadway World in Ohio. She is the one who asked me what RDU on stage stands, or what RDU stands for. So that sparked the impetus for changing the name. So thank you, Laura. Now we're Beltline to Broadway. Beltline meaning inside the Beltline or outside the Beltline in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Also, it was Laura Frost that did this.
Yes, she did.
Laura is the one that I blame for my memory being gone, and I can't remember what the name changed to.
We love you, Laura.
Thanks so much, Laura. Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you. So Beltline, RDU to Beltline to Broadway, yeah, going places. We have started a directory, and it's called a BIPOC directory for people of color, and it's free. And we just ask people to put their information up. When you put your information in, Lauren goes in and puts it in by finger. She types everything in, but it's your resume, what you do in theater. It's not just actors and dancers and singers. It's sound, lights, directors, assistant directors, it's all that stuff. And the reason why is because there have been times when I have been asked, or people who were on torn after the lights went off and stuff, well, I would hire Black actors or Asian actors, but I don't know any. There are none around here. And I'm wanting to go, really? That's your excuse. Well, let me knock that excuse out the water. We have a spot on the website you can go to, and you can look down the list and see them. The same thing happens at a talent agency. You look down the list and you see pictures and you say, Maya, that's the person I need. Let me look at her resume. Let me give her a call. Let me email her.
And
this is free to you guys.
So
she can be herself. There you go. And so I ask you guys, if you go to the site, and Lauren, you still looking for that picture? Jesus.
I got it.
Okay.
We need to have like a pre-production meeting before these things.
And
just go to
y'all
the
know, and I
website.
refuse to have a pre-production meeting with her. I don't even like her that much. I'm not trying to figure out why I'm even here. Okay. God. So Go to the website.
He's my
you can click
brother.
on the
He
image.
knows it.
That's right. Love her. I love her. Love her like my luggage. So go to it and please sign up and tell your friends to sign up. And anybody that's watching, if you're a BIPOC actor, actress, singer, dancer, belly scratcher, and you do it in theater, please sign up. We want you up there too. It's a BIPOC directory.
And anybody who's not white. So if you're Latinx, if you are Asian, if you are Black or brown, this directory is for you. So anybody.
Yes, that's right. This directory is for you. So yes. And I guess I'm done because she ain't put it up yet. So
no, I don't know. Just go to the website. You'll see the little black icon. It says BIPOC directory on the sidebar. Click that. It'll tell you how to sign up. It's free. And are you done?
I'm ready to put it up. Can I put it up?
Okay, put it up. Sure. I'm telling you guys. You'd think after a year we'd have pre-production meetings, but no.
Oh, now I can't get it to act right. Okay, that ain't it. I don't even know it. Just go to the website and go to the thing.
Go to the
Love
website.
y'all, mean it. Okay, it's time. Look, y'all don't know it. Oh, this is another thing, a shameless plug. I got my vaccine today. I need y'all people at home to get your vaccine, especially the ones y'all talking about you don't want to get it. But as I stated in my refrigerator review, you'll go to McDonald's and get that McRib, but you don't want to get but go get your Mac vaccine. Get your Mac vaccine, okay? Because that McRib ain't real. It ain't real meat. I just want y'all to know that
it's
meat
not.
ain't real.
It's
okay.
Really not.
That bulge in there where a bone's supposed to be is just more meat. No, that's dog food. Go get your. And guess which one I got? I got the Johnson and Johnson, like Medea said. I got the Johnson and Johnson.
One and done.
So I got one and done. I'm done. So y'all have to excuse me tonight because this whole show I was on 3 Tylenol, extra strength, 3 of them. I'm just as high right now. I'm just trying to tell y'all.
You have superpowers now.
You do.
Pew, pew, pew. Okay. All right. Good night, y'all. Love y'all. Mean it.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, yeah, I know. We're still up here. We can be heard while the credits roll. All right.